Welcome to AskReddit. Please take 2 seconds to subscribe to the channel. Videos are posted daily and I need friends. Subscribe please. It's free. Pizza delivery, hotel workers, and housekeepers of Reddit. What is your not safe for work story? How would you rate it 1 to 10? I was a housekeeper at a hotel for a few years. I lived in an expensive city so rent was high but the pay covered the basics. One day my boss came up to my cart and warned me not to start cleaning a particular room until it was clear. It's not unheard of for guests to request later checkouts or stay an extra day, but I've never heard someone talk about a cleaning delay in such terms before. Then after 10ish minutes, a 30-something white male and a paramedic jog over to the room I was warned about. I didn't think it was my business to start prodding, but my first thought was oh fuck, dead body. I've heard stories from other hotel staff. It's rare but it happens. This time, the situation was kinda sorta worse than that. Elderly Vietnam vet rented a room with the sole intention of killing himself, called his son to say goodbye, and son called for an ambulance. He had already taken a shit ton of pills, but his body rejected them and he'd puked and shit all over the room. They escorted the elderly man out of the room. There were tears streaming down his cheeks and he wouldn't stop apologizing for the mess. It took 2 hours to clean what I could. We had to call a specialist service in to get a rest. I wasn't angry this time. It was one of the saddest things I'd ever seen. 8 out of 10. That was the part that hit me in the feels. This was such a tortured yet gentle soul. I can only imagine that people who attempt suicide feel terrible for whomever has to clean up. It would fit with much of what we read these days about suffering in silence and not wanting to impose on others. Part of what kept me alive when I was going through a severe suicidal episode when I was younger was not knowing a foolproof way to not ruin someone's day with my mess. Yep, and who's going to feed the cat? Dark thoughts, man. Make sure your cat is in the room with you. They'll have weeks worth of food. Congratulations. This is the darkest sketch in television history. I don't think it was your job to clean that at all. Shouldn't they have called the specialist first? I wound up arguing with my boss about it later on. She was kind of a cheapskate who'd rather sit in the office fucking off on my space all day. I later found out she'd put a pregnant housekeeper in the smoking section on purpose, and that's when I quit. What in the fuck? Yep, she wound up getting fired over it eventually. She can go fuck herself with a cactus. I delivered room service at a nice hotel back in 89-90. One night I get a delivery for a bottle of high-end scotch to the penthouse suite. Great sale as I get automatic 17% on all orders. So the door opens and I get invited in. There are about 20 young Japanese men in the room and they have one of the guys pinned down on the bed and are wailing away on his bare feet with a shoe. I see this and don't know whether to laugh or call security. They see the stunned look on my face and reassure me that this is a bachelor party tradition where they are from. Sounds reasonable to me, so I go about my way. On my way out, several of the guys discreetly slid 10s and 20s into my hand as tips. After a couple more deliveries that night, I walked with over $250 from that room alone. 10-10 would recommend. Old tradition in both Korea and Japan. It originally came from a kind of show of respect to the bride-to-be. All the unmarried men in the village were supposedly so disappointed that the most attractive unmarried girl was now spoken for, that they expressed their frustration by whacking the lucky groom around with their shoes. You don't see it much in Japan anymore, but I've handed out the occasional whack in at Korean weddings. Oh how I wish I am Korean and know someone about to get married. Now that's a fetish. Once married, the bride typically takes over all whacking duties. That's actually pretty sweet compared to a lot of marriage traditions, like the Western tradition of the father handing his daughter over to another man, or the weird public sexual display of the garter business. Weddings are fucking weird. I don't like it. The garter thing is really weird. For some reason when I imagined this, they were all naked with black booties and pixelated genitals. Pizza delivery for 7 years. Fewer than 10 times did I see any noteworthy degree of nudity. Usually women who'd answer the door in a towel or topless, but it wasn't the opening scene to porn that you're picturing. But once, I delivered pizza to an orgy in progress. If that's not a 10, I don't know what is, except that I didn't join in. Man adore. What's the password? Frank, orgy. This one time I delivered pizza to a couple who were having sex. Took a couple of minutes for the guy to get dressed. He comes to the door in some of his girlfriend's clothes. He gave me tips and I apologized for interrupting. A few weeks later I had to deliver to the same house. This time the girlfriend came to the door. I smiled and said, "Oh, You're wearing your own clothes tonight? She looked confused but her boyfriend was laughing behind her. What if it was another girl lol? Explains why she looked pissed. I'm here for the gangbang. I worked front desk for a small hotel in a small town that had 8 of those fantasy suites, where the rooms were designed to look like different things. Igloo, cave, casino, honeymoon suite, etc. There was so much NSFW stuff going on there that the housekeepers just told me to lie to myself when I was doing the laundry. Blood on the middle of the sheet? Clearly someone had a nosebleed. Unidentifiable stain? Had to be a food spill. It was the only way to get through the days. Thank goodness I never worked third shift. Those are the employees that dealt with the most NSFW stuff, mostly thanks to noise complaints. I think I know where this is going. It's third shift, and you've received a noise complaint from 1301. Your heart drops. That's right next to 1303, the Cave of Paradise. It's one of those themed rooms designed to look like a love cave, so you can only imagine what you'll have to deal with. You and your shiftmates draw straws, and, wouldn't you know it, you get the short end of the stick. Time to go dump your water bucket on the dogs. You knock on the door, but it swings open to your touch. It's silent on the floor. You call out meekly, hello. Only silence answers. You step into the room, announcing your presence, but there's nobody within. Just a crackling flame in the cave's center and empty piles of branches and leaves. You notice something then for the first time. Primitive drawings cover the walls, depicting simple figures of man and woman holding spears and slings. As you walk across the cave, you see the development of artistic talent across countless drawings. The forms become bolder, and facial features appear. You witness the evolution of identity, as man and woman become humans with faces and personalities. Looking through their art, you witness a broadening of consciousness as objects from set and scenery begin to enter the drawings. There are paintings of animals, which denote a separation of the self and the outside world. There are depictions of dangers, which denote a conceptualization of mortality. As your jaw drops lower and lower, you notice light coming from around a bend in the cave's wall. You head that way, and see a circle of pure white shining into the cave system. You walk towards it and through it and out into Eden, where primitive man has finally awoken to build civilizations and wonders, to reach for the stars and climb to high heavens. With a tear, you realize that they finally made it. Your residents have become everything you'd hope they might one day be. You drop to your knees and sob silently. People approach. They lay gifts at your feet and call you God. Stranger still, you don't know if you could be anything but God to them. You are their caretaker, their guardian of the caves, the one who watched over them and protected them through the trials and tribulations of their early life. You are their parent, but before your eyes, they grow. They multiply and cover the landscape so that the whole of it is abuzz with their commotion. They war and slaughter in your name. Their cities take deeper root still and their factories belch smoke and ash and your garden withers to tatters and waste, ruin and memory. They approach you no longer. They turn their heads away and spurn your words. They do not want you. Solemnly, you turn your back to them and trudge back to the cave. Each parent must know when their guidance is ended. A loved thing must be let go so that it might find its own way. As you near the mouth of the cave, you allow yourself one final glance over your shoulder. You see the powerful trampling the weak, the innocent imprisoned by the guilty, the foolish leading the wise. You know that you must trust them to grow. You only hope that they will grow in time. You return to the cave and retreat through the rectangular frame that is the door to 1303. It is not an easy thing to do what you do, but it is a necessary thing. That much is certain. Sir, this is a Wendy's. Thank you for watching. Got a similar story? Share it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to AskReddit for more daily Reddit goodness. Subscribe bless.